Don't you wish you can go back to the 90s? Remember how simple things were? Yeah, those little snap bracelets. Virtua Boy was the next hot thing. There was a new type of Lunchables. Pizza. A whole brand new way for your mom to tell you she didn't love you by packing you a Lunchable. And of course, it wasn't all good. The one thing that I felt was missing was an apocalypse created by VR headsets. So if you have that similar twisted brand of nostalgia, do yourself a favor and check out The Electric State by Simon Stålenhag, published by Free League in 2017. That's right. In 2017, this was published by, well, in 2018, it was published by Simon & Schuster in the UK, but in 2017, it was actually produced by Free League, which I had absolutely no idea about when I bought this. I didn't even know what Free League was, and I didn't even really play any tabletop games at that time. I was still playing like Magic the Gathering. You might recognize Tales from the Loop, Things from the Flood. The Electric State is in, I guess you could say, the second or third installment by Free League in terms of converting Stålenhag's games to tabletop. I believe it was Tales from the Loop. Yep, Tales from the Loop was the first one, and then Things We Lost in the Flood. I'm not certain if that was like a separate campaign or a standalone thing, but I'm pretty sure it was like included in the same game system as Tales from the Loop. And there are other adventure campaigns from it. I saw one of them this evening at the game store. I think it's called They Grow Up So Fast. Anyways, this is also from Stålenhag, perhaps his most prolific work, and as far as I know what the word prolific means, in that, well, let's just say this. I love this one the most. This book is one of the most special books that I have ever had. We're speaking about the original here. How to define it? The Electric State is a picture book? Not really. A graphic novel? Not really. It's sort of like a road trip book, like a road trip photo book for a road trip that didn't happen and photos that were never taken. But they're presented sort of like a photo collage. Really, the only way to properly describe this is a tone poem. And I think that what makes this and all of Stålenhag's work so incredible is that you could flip through this book and not read a single thing, and you would experience an extremely compelling story. His art does something. It is incredibly fascinating. It does something with scale and a contrast between banal and absurd or obscene or beyond what you can possibly imagine. There will be these, other than the one thing, there will be these idyllic little sunburnt vistas, but then in the background will be some enormous collapsed mech or some terrifying advertisement. For instance, Life Buddy Financial Solution is like just a way for people to die. It's sort of like a right to die, but it's cased as this fun virtual reality experience. And it takes place in Pacifica, which is one of the places that claims to be the legacy of the United States after the Second Civil War, which was no doubt mediated by the Series 7 headsets, Neurocasters by Center. This ad in the beginning shows the Neurocaster here, and you probably noticed in the first pictures, if you even never looked at this before, you could probably tell that these Neurocasters are sort of forming these people's own tombstones because up until the Series 6, it was just a really cool thing. And then the Series 6 people couldn't stop watching it. They couldn't take it off, and they began to neglect their own needs for hydration, food, elimination, etc. And many of them died where they stood. Some people, such as the protagonist, she had a congenital eye issue that made it so that she couldn't use it. And she's traveling across the wastelands of Pacifica in search for her brother with a mysterious and important robot that I will not say anything more of that. I'll let the story unfold. I bought this and it was my treasured possession, and then I lent it to a friend and they went ahead and used it as a coffee coaster, but that's fine. I'm actually over it. I don't mind that you could see it on both sides of this page. That's okay. This picture right here is stunning. Like I just like it evokes some sort of like people that look at those liminal spaces. I wouldn't say that they're liminal, but there is something that when I look at some of these images, I feel a cold distance. I feel like this is somewhere where that is real, that I am not there. And oh gosh, look at that. It's unreal. I mean, look at this. Like, this is just like suburbia, and in the back you have these like mega Times Squares, which are these broadcasting centers for the Center Neurocaster headset. So I encourage you to get this, and I don't think Free League would mind me saying that. Well, especially because thank you, Free League, for the PDF. I did buy the hardcover on my own, and I think that if you don't have the Electric State, this might be worth its money just in the fact that it includes most of the pictures from the Electric State, but so much more too. Let's take a look inside. Oh no. Why can't I open this? Oh, you know what? I forgot. With Free League games, you actually can't open them unless you have the dice set that you buy separately from it. They don't. Let's try it here. Yep. See, now that I have the dice set, I'm able to open that. So the dice here, you'll notice that they're a little more sparse than the selection that comes with other Year Zero games. You do have 4 gear dice, and you have 6 base dice, and you can see that the 6 is the center logo, and the 1 is sad face. And on the gear dice, you have the 6 as the center logo, and the 1 is a kablooey. Now, if you compare it to something like Mutant Year Zero, you're also going to have a third set of dice called skill dice. So the base dice measure your attributes. The gear dice measure anything added by your gear, and the skill dice would be the application of the specific skill that you would use in achieving anything. Now, I believe much like Tales from the Loop, which I've only it's one of 3 Free League games I do not have. I do not have Tales from the Loop, Alien, or Blade Runner. I think that's the 3 core systems. Blade Runner, Alien, yeah, I think so. And it's a pared down version of the Year Zero system, so I think it's a pretty good starter game. Again, it takes place in Pacifica here, and in the back, included with the game, is a full map of Pacifica. It is gridded, but unfortunately, it does not have any coordinates, which I find a little bit unfortunate because this would be a really good way to go through it, very similar to how you can generate each sort of square in Mutant Year Zero, but 'tis what it is. It's a really nice map, and basically, as you could probably see, it's like California. After the Second Civil War, there was a fracturing of what remained of the United States, and some of that fracturing had to do with like certain people did not want to allow neurocasters to come in. Now, why am I especially excited to tell you about this game? Well, because Electric State, very, very happy to say, has a entire solo play section, the Lone Traveler. And I'm also very happy to say that this is not the simple bolted on solo addendum that you get in some other core games. And I really, really have to applaud and thank Free League by showing their commitment to solo gaming. And it has some really interesting ideas in here that are different. I think it's really cool. So first of all, the way that it wants you to set this up is that you'll take the map and you'll do a starting point, because fundamentally, just like in the actual the book, this is a road trip game, like UVG or anything. It's a game that is about the experiences and encounters and challenges that happen while you're on the road. So this lends itself well to a solo journey. You're going to choose a starting point, choose a destination, and then literally, mark it out on the map. And then you'll decide the number of stops that you're going to have. And stops are sort of like the things that are going to provoke an event. It's not the only thing that can provoke an event, but it is the place that you center your narrative around. You will roll up more than one traveler, which I have mixed feelings on, because I like the idea of literally being a lone traveler. But I think this game, I have not played it yet, but just the fact that, in Free League games, you need to roll 1-6 in order to get a success. And if there's not even any skill dice and I don't have gear, that means that very often I'm going to be rolling 2 or 3 or 4 dice. And I would rather have had a sort of modification of that than managing several travelers. However, what they do say is that you can switch out, like who's the main character at any given time. So you're going to choose a goal for them, a threat, and then you're going to figure out the vehicle that you're going to use. And in this game, you have a very simplified character sheet for your character, and you have one for your vehicle. And if you're playing solo, you're probably going to create a couple different character sheets. But in the very back, there are some pre-gen, which I think if I'm solo playing this, I think I would probably use these just to save me some time. And as I've stated before, pre-gens are sort of my new jam of like, I don't have to tire myself out by like doing everything. I can make a character my own, and I'm not any less of a solo player just because I had someone else generate my character. Let me move these aside here. The other, okay, so then you're going to create personal threat countdowns for each of the travelers, as well as stops and encounters. And it gives you everything to prepare. So I like this. We have a threat countdown. That means that there's going to be something that raises the stakes that's going to propel us along. And then there's also these stops along the way that we can generate different situations, destinations, etc. Destinations right here. These are 6 ideas. Could be former home of one of the travelers, their new home, one of the remaining cities, site of a Civil War battle, a secret facility, site of a popular pilgrimage, or much like in the, let's think about. So this is the core book. We'll call the actual book this the original book. In the original book, it was to find her brother. And so I'm surprised that's not a destination on there, but obviously you don't have to go by what's on here. These are just some ideas. So then you'll do the route, number of stops, goals, and threats. And there are some archetypes here of artist, criminal, devotee, doctor, drone pilot, journalist, outsider, investigator, and runaway kid, scientist, veteran, which are the archetypes that you can play as in the book. In Grim Jim's review of this, he said that the art for some of this that wasn't Stalenhag's original art, see, this was in the original book, conflicted with it. I don't see a very strong conflict, and I do very much like the added art. I think it's really cool. It's really clean and crisp, and you're going to be using your Neurocaster, and there are going to be times where you have to like go into the Neurocaster in order to achieve certain things. And so for this reason, the archetype of who you are, it could matter a lot, or it could be that you're something else or someone else when you're in there. And so we have the artist, the criminal, the devotee, the doctor, drone pilot, which this was like one of the original uses of this neurocasting thing was to mind link with drones so that people could, fight by proxy. And so there are some people that live completely as these drones. And in this game, very cool, there's other drones that you can choose. And of course, this is always what a scientist will say. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. Peter Venkman. This is one of the coolest, funnest parts of this game is that, besides that it's like an alternate universe, it does have all of these pop culture references. Obviously, Peter Venkman is Ghostbusters. It has all of these pop culture references from the 90s. This is a part on vehicles. There is actually I'm trying to figure this out. Lots and lots of tables in here that will be excellently used in solo play. So these are things blocking your path. These are needs that you have, threat types. These are conflicts that can come up. Right here is things that you could use as a threat countdown. Ah, man, really great stuff. Example locations right here. And the one I'm looking for, and it's actually on Spotify, this section's all on threats. I think this is great. So this can be like a bestiary, but again, this is a road trip game. So threats are going to be more than just like fights. They're going to be problems. Right here is this 90s song playlist. This is actually on Spotify. So let me roll with my latest waste of $3, which is a double 6-sided dice. They're like D12s, but D6. I don't know what's wrong with me, folks. I got a problem. All right, so we roll with 13 would be Something in the Way by Nirvana. I'm seeing 14 is Karma Police. 25, Killing in the Name, Rage Against the Machine. And I wish I could play any of these, but as you know, that would get this video taken down pretty quick. 32, Sabotage by Beastie Boys. So if you're of that genre, I like sort of came of age, became a teenager in that genre. It's really cool. And instead of having skills, or I guess this is not instead of, because for instance, in Mutant Year Zero, you're going to have skills and talents and mutations. But here, you're going to have your base attributes of strength, agility, wits, and empathy, and you're going to have some talents. Now, personally, I'm thinking we'll see how, as I play it over the weeks, years, if it's good enough, we'll see. But I'm almost wondering right now if, rather than having several different characters, if instead I just double my my attribute scores and roll more dice. But these talents, mostly it's going to just be adding dice to your dice roll. Dirty Fighter, your unarmed close combat attacks have a base damage rating of 2, so it could alter those kind of things. You could make up your own talents as it said, and then you have a dream and a flaw. You have a favorite song. These are shared items, things like crowbars, sleeping bags, walkie-talkies. There's going to be tensions in the group, and that's tough. I will say that that's a good idea, but from my experience, tension can be good in dosages. I'm talking now in group play, not solo play. They can be good, but tension seems to be the default when somebody's trying to come up with something fictional to talk about. Like, it seems like were you ever in class with somebody who their opinion was always that they disagreed, because disagreeing seems like more of a solid opinion. Like, nobody raises their hand and says, yes, I agree, I think that's great. And they really didn't have anything useful to say. They just disagreed. I think the same thing is like when people are worried about coming up with something, they'll create tension. It could be about the stupidest stuff, like, oh, let's all brush our teeth and then go. It's like, well, I think we should brush our teeth after we go. And it's like, okay, now let's have a fight about that. When in actuality, when the characters are agreeing on something and when they're converging around something and when they're supporting each other, or even if their characters have a difference, but they themselves have a point, they're agreeing on the same project like the players, that is going to be so much more fruitful and so much more generative in group play. And I think the same thing might apply to solo play, although in solo play, sometimes you need a little bit of tension just to sort of jumpstart the scene and have there to be some kind of dialogue that happens. Basic combat, you could be anywhere from engaged to like an extreme distance. The sample actions here: take cover, attack, make a range attack, interact. Weapons here, pretty straightforward: shotgun, sniper, derringer, handgun. In fact, those are like almost exactly Mutineer Zero. Some cover will give different armor levels. You could be incapacitated. You could have instant kills if you suffer damage equal to twice your maximum health. Body armor. And then a serious injury table. And then you have this hope score that in every year zero game, there's some sort of consequence and sometimes also a benefit of pushing your roll. Obviously, there's the benefit right away of like you've pushed your roll. So if you don't get any successes or you don't get as many as you want, you can push any that aren't a success and try again. And immediately your hope is reduced. You lose that from pushing rolls or from traumatic events or whenever the GM says so. And it says, or the stop text. Mark off your lost hope on the character sheet. If you lose one or more points of hope from a traumatic event, not from pushing a roll, you also freeze, losing your next turn. You can rally when you're having a breakdown. Someone else in the same zone can try to motivate you and press on. So again, this is probably why they're having you control a group of people rather than doing what it said in Dragonbane, which was like to have these different, solo specific talents. And then you'll have ways of reducing tension. There's some gear like a Walkman that can do it. But if you have a breakdown and rally, you can suffer mental trauma. And then other hazards like traps. Neurocasting is going to be a big part of the game, going in to solve different things. There might be, that's another reason why probably multiple characters in group play is because some characters will not be able to use neurocasters. Like they might because of a vision problem, because of a religious commitment, because of their brain. They have a brain, growth and they can't use a neurocaster, whatever it might be. But you might have to go in there for information. You're going to be interacting with avatars or drones. You can get drones to accompany you. This is really fun. Some new drones, of course, vehicles, aircraft, boats, whatever you want to do. These pictures just freak me out. These are some of the best pictures because on some of these you can see that these are connected to just like cultists, and they're all like mindlessly devoting their mental power towards like generating the power for this thing. I love this, the obscurance. So yeah, this is how to plan the journey in group play. And it's really good. I mean, it's giving a lot of directive for like cinematic type scenes, which I think was the same thing in Tales for the Loop, or a lot of what people liked about that. As a GM, you're going to be preparing stops as the sort of, I mean, it would pretty much be the same as like a dungeon or an event. And so this table here, again, fantastic for solo play. Like, let's just roll one up right now. So actually, let me get my little new, I love this thing. I don't really need all this. I don't mind it, but this I really like because I was just not having enough space to roll with the other ones. So, oh, perfect. It works just perfect. Okay, so this is going to be coast or riverside. The population is going to be lively, 100 to 300 people here. 6, there's going to be a main hub, several main roads, a harbor, airport, train station, lots of Neurocaster terminals. 2, size, it is very small, handful of houses. Prosperity, rich. Most people live in grand buildings, and the weather right now is a storm. So yeah, it's like we're gonna be in this coastal town where maybe there's like people that have a lot of money. They've been able to wall themselves off from this collapse that's been happening outside. They're still using the Neurocasters. And then you have these electric state elements. We'll roll D66 for this. On 11, old assault ship. Okay. Information on how to set the scene, things that are going to provide blocking, like we said, conflicts, locations, and how to play the stop. And I think honestly, I think it's great. I think it's just a great way to do, to manage this. Now, if you're somebody that you really want there to be a free reign, I think it also has those opportunities. I'm curious what kind of advice, because I didn't read into that section too much, what advice it gives for the GM when like the characters really want to go on their own and go off the path and off the route. I guess what I would say to them is like, okay, well, what's your goal? Like what kind of goal? And now like we have to plan a different route. So yeah, some threats, have some NPCs here like cultists, policemen, local strongmen. Hello there, I'm the local strongman. I'm Phineas. Who here wants to tussle? Technological threats, environmental threats, personal threats, and some minor NPCs. Let's get a quirk. 41, loud. Hi. All right, and then looks like a little bit of a campaign into the dust that you could run. So this is good. It shows like an example route here, and we're not going to be able to get there all from walking. Examples for each of the archetypes. Let's take a look at the devotee. That one's really weird, actually. Let's look at the outcast. For you, being on the road is nothing new. It's been your lifestyle as long as you can remember. Normies might not see it, but San Francisco is falling apart. It's time to leave. Your goal is to leave town and maybe go to the Blackwell exclusion zone. Your threat is that your old Noreen dealer, Carlos, wants you back in town. So Noreen was... And I'm a little fuzzy on the history of this actually because it's been a while since I read the original book, but Noreen is something that they gave to the original like drone pilots in the military to help them better interface with the drone. It's like a drug that mesmerizes you into that neuro connection. And one of the consequences of it that I think is significant in the story is that it usually makes people sterile. And so some people are addicted to Noreen still. And yeah, here's some more encounters. It's just like a well laid out book. I think it's really, yeah, this is one. Look at this. Look at all these cultists. Oh, it's so techno. What's the word? It's like, it is, something about it is ghastly or eldritch or cosmic about it. Like the idea of seeing something like this has always fascinated me. I remember when I was a kid, there were not too far from my house, there were like these lines of electrical. You ever seen it like in the middle of nowhere? Not these, but really tall. They look like one side of the Eiffel Tower, and they just like, there's electrical lines that just go down, and they're massive. And there was a park by my house, right outside of the city. I was in the city, so I had to take like the city bus a little bit, and then like the weird suburb bus. And I would go sit in this park, and you could just look all the way down for like a mile. Was these massive things, and I let it give me that like, it was like a weird, not ASMR. It didn't give me like tingles. It gave me this feeling that I also get sometimes when I'm like really close to a book and staring at it where like the letters start to look huge. It's almost, you know what it you know what actually it is? I think it would be like a Lilliputian hallucination. If you ever heard of a Lilliputian hallucination, like a Lilliput from Gulliver's Travel are the little people. And so Lilliputian hallucinations are when you perceive things as really far or really huge. Like some people, when they'll take like a hallucinogenic, will say, oh, my hands look like they're 10 miles away. It just did that weird thing. And then I would like start to get it and I'd lose it like a magic eye. And his pictures just give me that. Oh, man, they're so devastating, but also so banal. I mean, you just cut off this and it's just a picture of a suburban home. So some locations, we don't want to spoil everything, but okay. So let's take a look now. It has this whole storyline here with basically Paul and Gary, which are like Steve Jobs and Steve, what's his name? Wozniak. I'm a huge fan of Paulo Soleri, who was a visionary student later rejected by Frank Lloyd Wright. I love Frank Lloyd Wright in his own right. Paulo Soleri actually tried to develop something called Arco Santi by Flagstaff, Arizona, which was like this self-sustaining arcology. And they started in the 70s. They're still building it, sort of. It's like 3 to 4% done, but you could actually stay there and work on it. They make most of their money on bells, and there's also now like a music festival there. But anyways, I don't like that it's the place where the tech people go, but it's a choice. I don't think they're actually going there. They're going to a place called Soleri, not Arco Santi. Anyways. So, we would like roll up the journey here and just make sure. Okay, I suddenly sometimes have this thought of like, oh my God, have I not been recording? Am I just sitting here? Okay, so you would also start with a vehicle, in if you needed it, right? And you can easily build that in. I mean, if it's the way that it is in the electric state, I'm sure there are a few people who would not miss their car, either because they're completely absorbed into the Neurocaster or they're dead. The electric state RPG is played in scenes, and for a solo game, this is especially important. There's no need to procedurally generate everything that happens sequentially to stop. Instead, put yourself in the mind of the point of view character for that stop. What would they do first? What NPC or location within the stop creates the most interesting interaction? Start there. I mean, that's totally fine that you have a typo. And if anyone else has a typo, I'm sure they didn't mean it. By the way, Call to the Green is available on DriveThruRPG for $9.99. Please take a look. Link below. By Manalone and Friends. Okay. So this is a little bit different, but I think this is actually a good way to develop some solo skills if you're a little bit nervous for being, the director, producer, actor, and writer. Think of this instead as just coming up with these scenes. It's episodic. And you use playing cards. And so right here, it has a bunch of encounters, and then the suit that comes up depends, like diamonds are morning, hearts are day, clubs are evening, spades are night. And so normally I would use my premium playing cards, my premium bicycle playing cards, but because I work on quite an economy of space when I'm on camera here, we're instead going to use my new Lilliputian. Look how cute these are. My God. So you take the jokers out. Look at these. What if my hands were this big? These are regular playing cards. I love these. Okay, we can take the jokers out. Oh, they're just dear. And so give them a shuffle. Give them a tiny little shuffle. Come on, fellas. Let's have a tiny little shuffle. I gotta pause. I shot them all over the ground once. All right, so using a wash type shuffle so as to not launch your cards everywhere. Let's pull one out of here. Oh, good. I already bent one of these. Wonderful. I'm probably going to order like 10 packs of these. In fact, I might give these out. This might be something that I include on like every prize I send out to you guys from now on. Speaking of, stick around to the end of the video for me to talk about an upcoming little giveaway that we're going to be doing. I haven't named. Let me try this again. Come on. Ooh, I can't do it. They're very small. Okay, so let's just try one here. We'll say, what a pull. All right, so an ace of spades would be at night. And so the scene would be at night, and the ace would be a drone. It's not functioning. It's huge. You can see many examples in the art contained in this book. So I had read these before I recorded. I'm just going to move the mic here. And what I can say is, in terms of, you're not having as many options in the setup of this solo game as you would others because you're going scene by scene. However, I think that even on like the journey that was outlined on the map earlier in this book, like the sample journey right here, I can, there are 4 aces. So I pull up another ace and I'm like, oh, I found another huge drone, or I found debris or whatever. Like, I may need more than that. And so I did, once again, create some D100 table for this game. I did this pretty quick, so if there's repeats, I apologize, but the first column is present progressive verb, then a modifier. It'll either be like an adverb or an adjective, and then a noun. And again, just like last time, and I'll try to do this every time I make these, I did put the link to the crypt pad for this in the description. So if you wanted to play and wanted to use those tables, feel free. On what shift do you start? On a journey, each day is broken into 4 shifts. If you wish, you can draw a card to determine at which time the travelers arrive at the stop. So this will give you an idea how this happens, right? Like, and then like you're going to get to a stop and then generate the stop, generate a scene in that stop. It's not like a game where you're like, okay, we're walking and now we traveled this far, but there are certain things you could draw a card, and to add to the unknown in a solo game, face cards, when drawn, trigger events. You can draw a card when instructed by these rules, or any time when you feel the need to propel your game forward. If you draw a face card, an event is triggered, and a suit of the card determines the type of event. See the adjacent table. Don't reshuffle until you're through an entire deck. And so what we can say is, like, if I have a lot of distance between a stop, maybe I would say, okay, and this might be totally off because I'm just like making this up, but say that like my next stop is 20 miles away and the rule that I have is every 5 miles I'll draw a card. I would draw a card each of those 5 miles, and then if I hit a jack, I would say, okay, diamonds, this is a conversation that happens. I would go to page 219, and I would then have a conversation. Here's the subject, here's the event, and I can say, who do I have it with? Well, I run into an NPC here. These are NPC personality types. And then in the book is a list of all different NPCs as well. So there's just tons of tools to do that here. And again, if you haven't played, I'm becoming more sure of this as I talk about it. This is a good way to practice solo gaming because you don't have to manage every single little thing. The stats are really compact. They're really easy to do. Now, I'm going to play a couple times to see if I want to do a playthrough of this, but we'll see if I would keep the stats as is or modify them. I am thinking about making a quick solo supplement to put on drive-through for this, just because I think that I would like to create some more solid rules around the travel and everything. And expand out, like put maybe my tables in there and stuff like that. But really, I would say that this is more than enough to summon your first solo play. Now, if you play it time and time again with these rules, it might get a little bit stale. But even here, we have the threats. We roll a threat type, and then say you get a manipulative threat. Okay, you roll a d6, you roll a 3, local strongman or woman. Okay, and then if you get stuck, you draw a card, activate a stop countdown event. These are the stop threat countdowns. Activate a personal threat countdown. Okay, and so that would be like, if when you listed your own threat, like if somebody's looking for you or something like that, and you can just start counting down to that. These are NPCs' motives and methods. So clubs is power, spades is deceit. This is really great. This gets at something that I've been trying to get to, which is like it's more than just characteristics. Like I want to be able, this may be one of the best tables I've seen in terms of innovation here, because I always see these NPC tables that are like, okay, what are they interested in? And it's so narrow. It's like, they want to get to this specific destination. It's like, no, I need to know like what's driving them. And I really like this: power, deceit, religion, or technology. That's so good. And then there's tilts. These are things that skew the story. You draw a card. Spades and clubs are not in your favor. Hearts and diamonds are good for you. And a tilt runs just as the cards in a suit run from low to high. 2 is the lowest, ace is the highest. By drawing a card, you determine whether an element in your solo game is good or bad for your travelers. Look at this. I think that's really cool. I think it's cool. And then you have these traveler events. You choose a traveler to play at one stop. This is something that is really going to, this is homework. I want some of you who like have not gone through with sitting down and playing a full solo game yet, give this game a try. Just get the PDF of it. If you don't want to invest, I think it's $50 for the hardcover. If you don't want to invest all the way, try to play through this, because this is going to break it down in its component parts. There's nothing in here that's super complicated. You're not going to manage a bunch of stats. You're not going to manage a bunch of crunch. It's going to help you develop the ability to get to know your character and work within the confines of your character. If you want, don't even use a vehicle. Don't even worry about a vehicle. All right. Don't even worry about combat if you don't want to. Roll up combat with 2 dice, and if your dice is lower, you lost, but you never get killed. You just get injured or something. Like, make it simple. I want people to get comfortable with going through and developing a character arc. I'm going to play this a couple times, see how it is, see if I want to make any modifications to it. But so far, I'm feeling pretty positive about this as like a good narrative-focused game that has a setting that I really love. And I think it looks beautiful. I think it's really well laid out. So you decide on if you are someone who read the original book, if you're excited for this, let me know. A couple of other things that I have coming up. First of all, we're going to give at some point 4AD another try. I do have Treacheries of the Troublesome Towns, Tome 1. This has some stuff to generate towns. Might give us more of an RPG feel. We'll check that out. From Free League, I just received today Moria Through the Doors of Durin, which I believe has its own solo instructions in it, in sort of the traveling through the mines. And I'm going to pause to get the other thing I want to show. So this is the third of 3 videos I recorded tonight, just because I felt like it. I wanted to challenge myself to it. So if you've watched all 3 of these, you've done the Triple Crown with me. I did make a video on Carnage and Ether, which is not, the hardcover is not out yet, but it's like a tactical Coliseum arena combat mod. Not mod. It's a whole separate game. Carnage and Ether by Alex T. Black Oath. Check that video out. I also reviewed Slavborg, which, man, wild one. I just got to take a look at these car pictures again. Please check out this video. This is another really, really cool it passes the man alone check of approval for a Borg-like game. Coming up in just a few days, we're going to review Cartograph, the Atlas Edition by Brandon Lee, a map-making solo game of map-making and discovery. Let's see, it is a journaling game, but let's take a look at it, because just in going through it, it looks like this might be a game that breaks the curse of journaling games. I haven't enjoyed a journaling game in a while, so we'll check this one out. Like I said, Treacheries of the Troublesome Towns, based on the comments of people watching the video, watching my railing against 4AD through many videos. They said it's about adding these books. So we'll try to see if we can get into it, if we add some different components to it. We have the Grey Knight coming up from Pendragon, and all right, let me grab this. As you know, I did do an unboxing of the Mothership core set some time ago, but because my fiance is the greatest, for our anniversary, she went again and made her man's dreams come true, and I did get the deluxe set. I wanted to do an unboxing of it, but I just couldn't wait. I'm so sorry, folks. So I'll do a video at some point for members to show what's inside. But just want to say that I have everything that's in the core set is in the deluxe set, and this is all still in pristine condition. And so we're going to do a giveaway for this. You got to be a member to have a submission for it. I'll let you know what that is later this week, but this entire core set, never used. The dice is still in the packages, could be yours. So this would be a great time to become a member. We have some members only videos that are coming out this week, recording another podcast tomorrow. We just had a podcast that came out midweek, a conversation with PJ Sack from Wasteland Story podcast and the Solo Role Players podcast. That was an awesome conversation. You definitely need to check that out. And then we also had, we'll have tomorrow BB, Mr. 55, and myself on the mic. It's going to be a great one. So we're also going to be recording tomorrow night the first part of a conversation with Druidic Habit. Suffice to say, folks, it's never been a better time to become a member. You get 40% off on the purchase of Call to the Green, Man Alone Solo Dragonbane supplement. I'd keep going, but I gotta go. I've got too many members only things that I have to produce. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope that you check out Electric State. I definitely think it's worth it, and I give it a thumb way up. Bye. Oh, crap. I gotta add a new person to this. I know that one of you just joined, and I got to add you to the list. I'm so sorry. I'll do it. I'll definitely do it. I've been busy recording all the... Well, bye-bye.